Okay, so just a quick video about a subject I get asked about a lot, which is general advice for starting a career in the military later in life, right? So this is for my guys who are, you know, been out of high school for a little bit, let's say they're like probably over the age of 24, right? Which is about the time you're starting where you're considered independent according to the Department of Education. And you might be over 24, but you might not have gotten married yet. You might not have had kids yet, and you're wondering like if the military is really just the opportunity for you. What are you gonna get out of it? So there's a little bit about my personal story. I joined the Marines at the age of 30, right? So it was actually 29 when I signed the contract, but 30 by the time I went to boot camp. And obviously when I graduated boot camp. So I was the oldest person in my unit, my platoon at that time. And I didn't really understand like a lot about military culture going into it because my whole mentality was I'm like already so scared. I'm legitimately terrified, and if I don't go now, I'm gonna rethink it. I don't want to give myself an opportunity to back out because I want to have the fortitude. Whereas, like, you know what? I'm deciding whether or not I go. There's no point in doing my homework because I already know I'm going to do it, and I might as well learn as I go along. In that process, though, I made a lot of mistakes that cost me a lot of time, cost me a lot of energy, and cost me a lot of money, which is probably the real kicker that I didn't realize, my first time going through. Because originally my plan was just to go in the military, do a few years, and then get out and move on to, like bigger and better things. I really wanted a career in law enforcement, but just living in Baltimore, I didn't really have a good enough platform for achieving success. So I was like, I don't really know how to make it in Baltimore without getting involved with the wrong kind of people. That has not changed. And I don't really have a good like support system. Like I don't have friends and family where I could lean on. It was just me against the world. And when I first enlisted, I did not think about the opportunities for getting a bonus when I joined, which already from the muscle means I left $10,000 to $20,000 on the table, which hurt my feelings, right? Number two, I took a pay cut because generally speaking, entry level military pay is pretty garbage. It's less than I would make getting a full-time job in the civilian world. Like if I just got a regular civilian job, I dollar for dollar would make more money than if I enlisted. It was just the nature of the game. Considering my experience, considering the fact that I had the skills that I had and the way I presented myself, but I didn't really fully understand that the way the military is designed, you're designed to get the most money when you don't quit. So while I think it's important to kind of understand why somebody who's older would want to join, I think it's also equally important to understand the pay and benefits, since that so is probably the biggest reason why a person would want to join. But without understanding how the pay works and how the benefits works, it's going to be super difficult to really navigate the military since you're not sure what to focus on. So with that in mind, I'm gonna have the second half of the video be just exclusively about the pay and benefits, regardless of your age. The first and most important section of the pay is objectively your base pay. So your base pay is determined by two things. whether you're an officer or you're enlisted, and whether you're active or reserve. Essentially, the highest paid people in the Marines, sorry, not in the Marines, but in the military in general, are going to be active duty officers, then active duty enlisted, then reserve officers, and then reserve enlisted, scaling according to their rank. Enlisted ranks go 1 through 9. Officer ranks go 1 through 10, and also warrant officers 1 through 5. So there's multiple ways to become an officer. There's multiple ways to become an officer, although all enlisted routes are exactly the same. You just literally sign up. Considering the fact that the base pay for the enlisted isn't that bad, you're really not that bad off financially if you enlist. Obviously, whether you choose officer or enlisted is going to mostly be based upon what you qualify for. But regardless of that, the second thing that's going to determine how much you get paid is just literally your time in service. So the longer you're in the military, the more you get paid objectively. So it's important to understand that as long as you don't quit, you're going to get a pay raise. The pay raises are guaranteed, but it's also important that you're ranking up at a reasonable level. Like, you just don't do anything stupid. And if you can, work on getting a medal and a promotion or understanding what the requirements are, so that you're not really getting involved in a lot of the trouble that some of the junior enlisted get into. Generally speaking, at the junior enlisted level, pretty much all you have to do is show up to work, get good PT scores, get good test scores. What else? And obviously look good in your uniform. So as long as you're looking good in your uniform, you're doing good on PT, you're doing good on tests, you really don't have anything to worry about outside of just, again, avoiding a lot of the traps that the junior enlisted fall into, which are normally just either alcohol or inappropriate relationships, which is just like sleeping with women who are not your wife. Speaking of, that's a great segue into our second category, which is BAH and BAS, which are your housing allowance and your food allowance respectively, right? So to be honest, BAH and BAS make up a majority of your pay, especially at the lower enlisted side. Like if you're an E2, E3 making BAH, BAS, you're making so much more than your counterparts that's not even funny. But it's important to understand what you have to do to qualify for BAH and BAS, because it's gonna make or break your career as a whole. So the biggest thing is it's determined by essentially like your tax status, right? As in, are you single, are you married, and are you married with dependents, right? Those are the three. That is your progression outside of just like your regular rank, time, and service. You want to make sure that you're also moving up the ladder of like, okay, you're single, you're getting married, and then after you're getting married, you're gonna try and have as many kids as you possibly can, right? When it comes to getting married, just some basic advice, right? The person you marry should be the person who you live with and who you raise your kids with. So you should be comfortable, someone you're comfortable around. Like, let's say, obviously, if I live here, my wife would be like in the bedroom or like at work, but we're gonna live together, right? Same thing with the kids, whereas like, okay, cool, I got the wife coming here, got the kids coming here, and that's like the strategy, regardless of where I live. Like, as in, we're all gonna meet at home, right? Home is where we all come together. And the goal is always a happy home. And what I found out, that the secret to a happy home is like, this may seem counterintuitive to some people, but it's literally just pick a spouse who you're okay with, like who you're just like unbearably attracted to, right? Like, pick the sexiest person you can, right? Because the reality of the situation is this. Like, sex leads to kids. So if you're picking your partner based on how sexy they are, you're never really going to be in a bad spot, since 9 out of 10 times sex is going to solve all your problems. It's when you're getting into relationships that don't have sex, or the woman is requiring you to pay money. And if that's the case, she's just a whore. Don't marry a whore. But the main thing is that the attraction should be there, right? Whereas, like, you know what, I find this person unbearably attractive, and you're either, because at the end of the day, you're either having sex or you're being lazy together, where it's like, I'm gonna have a lazy day. I'm gonna sit here and do nothing. You know, I'm gonna like eat food. I'm gonna watch TV. I'm gonna play video games. Your spouse should really be the person you do that sort of stuff with. And if you can't find someone to sleep with you and be lazy with you, I highly recommend being single, right? Because being single is nice. Like, I'm sorry, I love the single life. You know, I love married life. I've never really been the type of person to get in a relationship and then be like, I hate this. And again, there are some relationships where there are people who are going to drag you down. And I could probably talk about dating all day, but I feel like as a subject, it's so simple. It's like, just pick a woman who you want to jump their bones, but you also are okay with literally just having the presentation of a pure and happy couple. Whereas, like, okay, we get in public, we get in private, you know, we bump uglies, but then when we go in public, we're like able to tone it down a little bit, where it's like, you know what, maybe we won't like sleep with each other in the Walmart parking lot. Maybe we'll just go shopping and then go home. Just stay focused on the sex and the children. And again, you've eliminated 99% of all of the bad partners. So just take what I say with a grain of salt.